Education in Hong Kong is largely modeled on that of the United Kingdom, particularly the English system. It is overseen by the Education Bureau and the Social Welfare Department. Small village Chinese schools were observed by the British missionaries when they arrived circa 1843. Anthony Sweeting believes those small village schools existed in Stanley, Shek Pari Wan, Heng Kong Sai and Wong Ai Chong on Hong Kong Island, although proof is no longer available. One of the earliest schools with reliable records was Li Ying College, established in 1075 in present-day New Territories. By 1860, Hong Kong had 20 village schools. Chinese who were wealthy did not educate their children in Hong Kong. Instead, they sent them to major Chinese cities, such as Canton, for traditional Chinese education. The changes came with the arrival of the British in 1841. At first, Hong Kong's education came from Protestant and Catholic missionaries who provided social services. Italian missionaries began to provide boy-only education to British and Chinese youth in 1843. By 1861, Frederick Stewart would become the founder of Hong Kong Education, for integrating a modern Western-style education model into the colonial Hong Kong school system. One of the much contested debate was whether schools should offer vernacular education, teaching in Chinese at all. Education was considered a luxury for the elite and the rich. The first school to open the floodgate of Western medical practice to East Asia was the Hong Kong College of Medicine for Chinese. The London Missionary Society and Sir James Cantley started the Hong Kong College of Medicine for Chinese in 1887. In addition, the London Missionary Society founded Yinghua Girls' School in 1900. Berlioz Public School was a girls' secondary school founded in 1890, the first government school in Hong Kong that provided bilingual education in English and Chinese. The push for Chinese education in a British system did not begin until the rise of social awareness of the Chinese community following the 1919 May 4th movement and 1934 New Life movement in China. Educating the poor did not become a priority until they accounted for the majority of the population. Financial issues were addressed in the 1970s. A small group of South Asian Hong Kongers marched through Central demanding more schooling in the English language on 3 June 2007. In the 2013-14 school year, there are 569 primary schools, 514 secondary day schools and 61 special schools. Preschool education. Preschool education in Hong Kong is not free and fees are payable by pupils' parents. However, parents whose children have the right of abode in Hong Kong can pay for part of their fees with a voucher from the government under the Pre-Primary Education Voucher Scheme. In 2013, the amount of subsidy under the PEVS is $16,800. Primary and secondary education. Every child in Hong Kong, without any reasonable excuse, is required by law to attend a primary school after the child has attained the age of 6 years. It is also required to attend a secondary school after primary education and is completed before he attains the age of 19 years. However, child who has completed Form 3 of secondary education and whose parent can produce evidence to the satisfaction of the Permanent Secretary for Education shall not apply. Education in the public sector is free. School years. Primary education. Children receive primary education usually from the age of 6 until 12. 6 subjects are studied, including English, Chinese, mathematics, general studies, music, visual arts and physical education. At schools with religious affiliations, religious education or Bible studies may be studied as well. Secondary education. Secondary education is separated into junior and senior years. In junior years, the curriculum is a broad one where history, geography and science are studied alongside subjects that have already been studied at primary schools. In senior years, this becomes more selective and students have a choice over what and how much is to be studied. Almost all schools but PLK Vakud KT Chong Sixth Form College and its feeder Junior Secondary College have both sessions. Further education commerce stream in secondary schools are considered vocational in nature. Students in the commerce stream would usually enter the workplace to gain practical work experience by this point. Further education pursuit in Hong Kong Institute of Vocational Education or universities abroad are common. The Manpower Development Committee advises the government on coordination, regulation and promotion of the sector. In addition, the Vocational Training Council ensures the level of standard is met through the Apprentice Ordinance. The VTC also operate 3 skills centers for people with disabilities. Secondary schools in Hong Kong are going to be cut down to only 2 years due to the switch in the government. Alternative education options. International institutions provide both primary and secondary education in Hong Kong. International institutions like schools within the English Schools Foundation, Li Po Chan United World College, Hong Kong International School, American International School Hong Kong, Chinese International School, Victoria Shanghai Academy German Swiss International School, Canadian International School, Hong Kong Japanese School, French International School and Yucheng International School, Po Lung Kuk Choi Kai Yo School, Singapore International School teach with English as the primary language with some sections bilingual in German, French and Chinese. International school students rarely take Hong Kong public exams. British students take GCSE, IGCSE and A-levels. US students take APs. Increasingly, international schools follow the International Baccalaureate program, and enter universities through non-JUPAS direct entry. International students apply on a per-school basis, whereas Hong Kong local students submit one application for multiple local universities as a JUPAS applicant. Tertiary and higher education. Higher education remains exclusive in Hong Kong. Fewer than 20,000 students are offered places funded by the government every year, although this number has more than doubled over the last 3 decades. As a result, many continue their studies abroad. The following is some of the destinations that students in Hong Kong go to for tertiary education in their respective numbers. Adult education. Adult education is popular, since it gives middle-aged adults a chance to obtain a tertiary degree. The concept was not common several decades ago. The EMB has commissioned 2 non-profit school operators to provide evening courses. Both operators have set up fee remission schemes to help the adult learners in need of financial assistance. Adult education courses also provide vocational training counsel through various universities and private institutions. The Open University of Hong Kong is one establishment for mature students. Several secondary schools also operate adult education sessions, the first being Chung Sha Wan Catholic Secondary School, while PLK Vakud KT Chong Sixth Form College went further so as to offer associate degree and joint degree programs. Education for immigrant and non-Cantonese speaking children. The Education Bureau provides education services for immigrant children from mainland China and other countries, as well as non-Cantonese speaking Hong Kong children. Free induction programs of up to 60 hours have been offered to NAC by non-government organizations. The EMB also provides a 6-month full-time initiation program, incorporating both academic and non-academic support services for NAC before they are formally placed into mainstream schools. Hayes Tang provided a good sociology of education thesis on the NAC's adaptation and school performance international education. As of January 2015, the International Schools Consultancy listed Hong Kong as having 175 international schools. ISC defines an international school in the following terms. ISC includes an international school if the school delivers a curriculum to any combination of preschool, primary or secondary students, wholly or partly in English outside an English-speaking country, or if a school in a country where English is one of the official languages, offers an English medium curriculum other than the country's national curriculum and is international in its orientation. This definition is used by publications including The Economist. In addition to the International Day School, Hong Kong's Japanese population is served by a weekend education program, the Hong Kong Japanese Supplementary School. Types of schools. History. Following the introduction of the comprehensive system in the 1960s in the UK, children in Hong Kong transformed from the old education system to the new. Before the 1960s, from the 1960s to 1971, from 1971 to the 1980s, from the 1980s to the 2000s, from 2012. Class size. Many primary schools in Hong Kong offer half-day schooling, splitting by AM and PM to handle the demand. The two sessions are usually treated as separate school entities with two different headmasters. To make up for the time of shortened half-days, students are sometimes required to attend alternate Saturdays. Most primary schools are gradually moving to full school day systems as government policy aims to phase out half-day schooling over time as resource permits. Due to the drop in birth rate in recent years, many primary schools were forced to cut classes, cut teachers and even close down. There have been debates that one should seize the opportunity to promote small class teaching. Doing so could mitigate the pressure of teachers, class and school reductions, on top of improving ratio of students to teachers. Discipline. Good behavior has always been emphasized in Hong Kong, to the point that it is sometimes said to hinder pupils' development. Misbehavior is recorded and shown on school reports. The Education Bureau provides the guidelines for student disciplines to schools to provide guidance in creating a disciplined educational environment. It outlines the principles and policies regarding student discipline, the organizational structure of a school discipline team, the roles and responsibilities of the discipline master and mistress, and provides discipline strategies illustrated with case studies. Criticisms. Spoon-feeding education in Hong Kong has often been described as spoon-fed. Cram schools in Hong Kong have also become a popular standard in parallel to regular education. Teachers focus on helping students getting high scores in the major exams and heavily rely on textbook knowledge rather than exchanging ideas and essence of the subjects. Education reform. With the advent of education reform, there is a greater emphasis on group projects, open-ended assignments on top of traditional homework. The current workload of a primary student in Hong Kong includes approximately 2 hours of schoolwork nightly. Along with extracurricular activities, Hong Kong's education has become synonymous for leaning towards quantity. As early as March 1987, education advisory inspectors became concerned with the excessive amounts of mechanical work and meaningless homework. In particular, history education has been recognized as ineffective, with critics claiming that the curriculum is not capable of delivering a sense of identity. Not only that, students have to memorize the whole history texts, thereby indicating that rote learning has greater priority than absorbing and understanding material. Some have criticized the system for having too narrow of a stream focus, too early on. LegCo member Alan Leong pointed out in a guest lecture at the Chinese University of Hong Kong that secondary-level science students are incapable of participating in meaningful discussions on history, art, or literature. Vice versa, journalists of arts stream background are incapable of accurately discussing technological issues. The narrow focus of education in Hong Kong has been a concern. The pervasive perception from observers in overseas education institutions generally is that a typical Hong Kong student compared with other students, even against other students in the Asia region, lacks systematic decision-making, confidence and relies on repetition and undeveloped answers. This deviates from the common benchmark of intellect, where value propositions are generated from innovation and distinctive solutions, and this has led to much schism in the debate of educational direction of Hong Kong, where the populace makes no such aspiration for intellect but seek constant reaffirmation of the value of myriad certificates obtained through pedagogy throughout their working lives. The desperation to seek standing in life through education is further highlighted by severe ironies such as 1. Senior education officials often acclaim the excellence of Hong Kong education, yet few if any will let their children matriculate locally, preferring overseas universities instead. 2. A certificate-driven society that takes pride in its academic excellence is unable to devise a suitable benchmark of excellence itself. With a low public approval of the local educational system, relies on certification from outside Hong Kong.